Damn, it's such an open-ended question. I can take that thing in a million ways.
And we'll unravel it as we go along.
Yeah, who am I and what do I do? I'm a 27-year-old male. Yeah, you want to go that deep?
Yeah, anywhere. Like, where are you from?
I'm from Buffalo, New York. Grew up with 2 sisters. I'm a middle child. Moved away from home when I was 15 years old. Played Division I hockey at Colgate University. Had the opportunity to play a professional sport, but ultimately decided to pursue my entrepreneurial endeavors. I gave up my corporate job 12 hours before my first day because I just realized it wasn't the thing for me, and that I was more fulfilled by like following my curiosities and like truly at peace with doing the things that make me happy and invigorate me every day when I wake up. So I think like that has spun into me being an entrepreneur primarily. I run a software company that's, I don't know when this is going to air. I guess it's called Smart Theme right now, but it's going to be called Platter. So we can coordinate when this article comes out, once the rebrand is done. But I run an e-commerce software company. That's my quote unquote day job. I think for me, pursuing like my creative outlet has always been something that's important to me as just like a side project, if you will. I think like I definitely a contrarian perspective or opinion around going against the grain of people thinking that like to build a successful software company, you need to work 18 hours a day at a computer on the same thing all the time and you can't do anything else. Because if you do something else, you're deemed a distraction, and like investors don't like that. People don't like that. My belief is that there's ways that you can utilize media channels to like be different and like draw eyeballs, whether it be through customers or other people that you want to get in front of, to bring them into your world through different channels. I think like in the context of this, so I run an e-commerce software company. We work with direct-to-consumer brands in the Shopify ecosystem to help essentially improve their online experience, to help them spend less and make more. But in the context of Birthday Party, for example, over the course of the 2 weeks that we spent talking to brands to put this episode together, like I spoke to 35 direct-to-consumer brands. So like that's an anecdote that not everyone knows necessarily. And like right now, I would say that my presence online is maybe seen as distracted because I haven't really started posting about the software company yet because we're going through the rebrand. But for me, like the most important thing is that anything you spend your time on, if you're very like focused on one thing, it all needs to be synonymous and it all needs to feed the other things. And the goal is to figure out compounding effects, whether that be through personal branding, media properties, or just like fueling the North Star. And for me, like I want to build a really large software company and use my extroverted personality and my media channels as a way to like propel that forward.
So much to unpack there. We'll get into a little bit more. But yeah, first thing I thought was like you're using one to fuel the other. So you're just kind of like cross-pollinating the intersections of both the software and the media. I think that's just...
You build a big flywheel. And I think that's what I was talking to you about yesterday when Ben got a comment about being distracted. And I was like, dude, that's all...
Who said you're distracted?
It doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter.
It could even be more than one person, right? But I think what I was telling you was like, no, dude, the whole picture will come into view at the right time. And I think when people only see a piece of it, you know, it goes to even the conversations we've had about this event we just produced this weekend for episode 1. It's like people don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. Every angle, you know, you're leaning into eventually for us has been like leading back into, you know, that compounding effect that Ben's talking about. And I think, you know, when you're running a business like you are in the consumer space, like every conversation you're having has been valuable.
I think the one thing I will say though is that if you want to take the path that I'm taking, you need to be prepared to take the heat, and you need to be prepared for people who are going to like write you off and knock you down. And I think like to some extent, haters this might sound crazy, but like haters in some regards are actually validating that like what you're doing is getting attention. It might be bad attention, but it's on me to like answer the questions that I'm getting. And I think that like at the end of the day, there's going to be a subset of people who either bet on me and believe in my vision and my conviction and trust that like I'll get it done, whatever it is. Or there's people who are going to say like, you're not going to win, and here's why. And so for me, like as a Division I athlete and like a competitor my whole life, like I would say that I'm a relatively calculated person, and I've always been interested in media, but I've never actually put anything out into the world because I wanted to be so sure about the persona that I wanted to paint for myself before actually releasing something publicly. And I feel like this is the first time that has started to materialize. Like I have a podcast called Turning Pro that's launching, I think, early August. We have the content series, birthday series, which is launching early August. I have the rebrand of my software company that I've been building for 2 years that's launching early August.
August is a big
And
month,
so
yeah.
like I have a vision in my mind and how all these things play together, and like my co-founders and my software company are fully bought into the vision I have, and they trust me implicitly, which is very valuable. And so it's now on me to just execute. And so I think the conversation I had yesterday was a little tough to swallow because it's the first time that someone said something, which to me, in some regards, is like it's the first time people are starting to take notice, for better or for worse. And so I think I just have to do a very good job over time to explain effectively, like, now you understand what I mean, right? Like pulling on these nuggets and these anecdotes to show you why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I think it's benefiting it. And if there's a moment in time where I think that it's not actually benefiting it, then like I got to stop, because I don't want one thing to be at the expense of another.
But once you gave that picture, that person understood.
Yeah, but I guess like in the public eye right now, the picture isn't fully out there, and it will with time. But I'm really excited because I've always loved being in front of a camera. I think that's something I've always struggled with, of like being an extrovert, but I also can operate a business. I struggle to be behind a computer screen for 12 hours a day. So I've always thought about, for the longest time, how do I find things that I can do that can like benefit me the same or more, where I can do the things that I love, which is like talking to people, doing epic things, and like curating experiences and bringing people together and using that as a benefit, not as like a negative.
But I think that last tangent of like doing fun, doing epic things, bringing people together. I remember it was like a Monday night and we had a big group of people here having a really fun conversation. And a friend of ours literally pointed out to us that this is not normal. Like,
No, not at all.
what Ben and I have been doing just in our lives before we turn the camera on, also not normal. And it was just even more validation for us to like turn the camera on and like think of how we were going to approach that. So I just think that that's been a realization for us too, because we just love doing this stuff. So it wasn't something we thought about.
One of the reasons that we started Birthday Series, and one of the moments in my head that I had that really gave me the conviction to do it, was that I told myself that I want to do really cool things with really cool people and have someone else pay for me to do it. Sounds selfish. In some instances it is. But I think that like if you can provide elevated experiences to others, whether it's the people actually participating like yourself in the run or viewers that are watching because they really enjoy it, I find fulfillment in giving other people fulfillment while fulfilling myself at the same time.
Couldn't agree to that more. In terms of how I just think about the brand 137PM, we try to use our platform to give other people the eyes and the audience that they normally wouldn't get. So I get fulfillment by getting other people fulfillment of giving them that extra reach that they maybe wouldn't have gotten
Exactly.
if we didn't discover them or like repost one of their videos or clips or something like that.
But I think that part of the process was fun. Like, just how we had never met before.
No, never. It was just a cold DM. You reached out. And before we get into that, I just know we can talk about you, and I still have some follow-up questions for you. But just so for the interview's sake, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Ryan Foss Shift2Speak. I feel like I'm going to have to explain how to pronounce my name a million times.
That was great.
We did our first TV interview the other day, and the hooked on phonics version of how to pronounce my name is say shit this week 5 times fast, and you'll get to Shift2Speak. But I've done so many different things that has led to the work I do now, which is I run a consulting firm, typically in the venture space, but I've worked with later stage companies like banks or publicly traded companies, helping them launch sales teams, to solve problems, to invest, to working with startups and venture funds and family offices. But Ben and I over the years have also worked with a lot of creators. And I've gotten a lot of fulfillment over the years of like being the business end of things and helping creators build their business, invest, get paid in cash and equity, like be that forcing function behind them on how they go to market and actually make money, and then how they organize their money and put that money to work. And I think like I've done everything from my first business in New York being an art gallery, literally helping artists build sales, events, you name it, to working at a couple different boutique M&A investment banks, to a hedge fund, and then getting an opportunity to be co-founder and chief operating officer of a startup where I got to come in and help restructure how the company made money. And then we raised a bunch of venture money. And we were building a really exciting business, and then the pandemic unfortunately interrupted that business. And I had to let go of a lot of people, and And through shutting that company down, a lot of people in my network were like, hey, could you help me not shut my company down? And I just started consulting for friends, and it built into this sort of referral network, and leaning into the content side of things. A couple of people like JT Barnett, Nick Dio, who's obviously a Vayner guy. I got an opportunity to work with them on putting together a TikTok house during the pandemic, and I got to be on the producer back end side of it, but we built Honey House into 1 million followers in 60 days. And it was this crazy experiment between friends of like throwing friends in an Airbnb and like hoping stuff
I'm
stuck to
very
the wall.
familiar
Yeah,
with
you are.
I'm
No,
very familiar
but
with it. Yeah.
it was a really cool experience. And then, just starting to help creators in a handful of different categories over the last few years. Ben and I also had a conversation of like, we know so many creators. Like, how do Ben and Ryan, like, how do we monetize our relationships? And I think it's a conversation people have with themselves a lot of like, how do I monetize my relationships? How do I put my network to work? If you are extroverted, if you do build relationships, I figured out very early on for me, like my highest and best use is not behind the desk. It's out in front of people. It's out in front of clients. And a lot of the community building like we've done personally and professionally, I think is a big factor into why we enjoy this so much. But it's been really fun to now say, okay, like we've come up with a concept and we want to be the forcing function for creators to do the things they say they want to do. And that's sort of how Birthday Series is evolving, where every episode will feature a new creator as a guest and we'll go and do something awesome on their bucket list. I think Ben and I are kind of like in shock that this is like now becoming a real thing.
How long ago did you two have this idea?
I called Ryan about 9 months ago, and I was sitting on the toilet in Buffalo and said, Ryan, I got it.
That was
This is it. This is it. This is what we're
I
doing.
said, because we had been kind of like kicking around a bunch of different ideas, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is the one. I know it is.
Was it always media? Was it always content, working with creators, monetizing your network? Was that always like the base of it, or
Not-
that just
not
happened?
No,
base
the
of
base
it,
of it, the
no.
base of it was getting in front of the camera instead of always facilitating for other people who were in front of the camera. I don't think the idea was ironed out that we were going to end up working predominantly with other creators. That part was like a brainstorm that kind of came into itself. But it was more so like, how can we start getting in front of a camera in a way that we're fulfilled? And the biggest thing for me was how we can stay consistent. Because I believe that like every creator can be successful if they're consistent, because there's enough people in the world that there's a subset of people who will always listen to you or follow you if you just stay at it.
Well,
Like Mr. Beast always says, like, don't think about how to make a video until you like make 100 videos.
Fair enough.
But also, I think JT Barnett is obviously a friend of ours and been a big influence. And, he's someone who talks about chase the consistency. Don't chase virality. Like, stay consistent. And I think that's what we're excited to do, because a lot of our creator friends were like, just turn on the camera, just like get it rolling, just make mistakes. And Ben and I, we come from the business side first. And for us, we really wanted to have a strong foundation, and we wanted to feel like we could give ourselves the best opportunity to be consistent, which was like, we've got 6 episodes in the bank, and we've got a couple hundred short form pieces of content in the bank. And like, we are being strategic, and we are talking to brands, and we are trying to collaborate with media partners, because we want this to be a really big thing, and we think it can be.
I think there's an interesting dichotomy that we've unpacked before we started this and now, is that most content creators become creators first, and then they figure out business once they have a community and realize they can monetize it. We did the complete opposite. We started as like business operators and understood the fundamentals of business, and now we're like, okay, let's go become creators. But the way that we think about these situations are so different, because we approach them with a business mind, having come from that world, for better or for worse.
Right.
So it's just so interesting when I see some of my creator friends who are fucking massive, who like ask me questions that I assume are intuitive, and they're not.
Well, I think that's what we've also seen. Like, a guy we did an episode with, a good friend of ours, he's got a couple million followers, and he was like, can you introduce me to a brand? He's like, I'm
Creator
I'm at
first,
home,
yeah.
living at home. Like, I need money. And we're like, you have millions of followers and you're not making money. But this is a real pain point for a lot of people, that I think like there isn't that education. We're not learning that in school, like how to go get a brand deal, how to price yourself, how to negotiate. So I think for us, we are so excited to participate now as creators where we feel like we can really help a lot of people too. And I think that's exciting. Like all my work is helping other people, like as a consultant, and Ben spends his entire business is built around helping other businesses. So I think that's fun for us.
I think it's becoming, and I've known this when I first met you just for the first time. It's very obvious that you two are cut from a different cloth than most people who walk this earth. Ben, you left home at 15, quit your corporate job 12 hours before starting it. You said, "Fuck this." Rye, you've helped multiple companies navigate, through the pandemic, help people fundraise, help people keep their businesses alive. I'm curious to know that individuals like yourselves with the non-traditional backgrounds you have. You went to college. I'm not sure if you did either.
I did. It took me a long time to get that piece
So
of paper,
I would
but
still
I got
say
it.
very like non-traditional ways of navigating life. How did you two meet? Where's this origin story of these two best friends coming together?
I love this.
It's okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
I actually love the way that we met.
It's actually not like that crazy of a story, but we just got introduced by a mutual friend who was like, "You two need to meet each other," and it was kind of just love at first sight from there.
Do you know like the date or year this happened?
It was like
It was-
2 years ago.
It was like during COVID.
It was during COVID. And
It was at
and-
Soho House. I remember what table we were
Well,
sitting at.
yeah, I remember where we met, but it like, I think that, Ben and I are similar in so many ways that I think that it's amazing to me that I have friends all the time who are like, "Ryan, you need to meet this person," because for me that's like, I feel like my life is being a connector, and so to have people around me that are also connecting me is big, but the bromance has been very real. And it was
sure.
actually, we had a really funny, just want to tell this story because I think it's funny. Ben took me to a Shabbat dinner. All right. And
I've been to 3 so far. Phenomenal.
listen,
It
this
was
my first
it was
one.
Rosh Hashanah, but same
Okay,
thing.
Rosh Hashanah. It was an incredible experience. Huge production. This family's home, their extended family. Ben and I are sitting next to each other, and this nice woman says, asked us something to the effect of like, "How did you meet?" or whatever. And I gave the story of how we met, and then I was like, "And then we fell in love." And she was so alarmed. And
Ben, I had
Ben
no
was like,
idea.
hold on, you can't say
Well,
that.
no, because she looked at me and she said, "Oh, so how long have you guys been together?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, we had relatively matching sweaters on. Ryan has pink nails. She's from London. Let me clarify. We're not dating." She's like, "Oh, I didn't know. I didn't want to assume anything."
That's
It
great.
was so funny. I love that.
And I think a follow-up question to that is, where do you think you complement each other very well?
So I think
Let me
Ben-
just preface it. You can answer it, but I'll preface it saying I think the answer is just like so clear to both of us, which is like why it works.
I just think that Ben is someone who brings me back down to earth, and like can get granular on the execution of things. Because for me, like I see myself as a big idea person, relationships, like vision, and we both are that. But when it comes to like, hey, here are like the 10 steps to actually get from where you want to go to where you need to be, I think that's where like we complement each other so well. I think there's also some like, I'm very laid back and Ben will like put things into drive.
This motherfucker lost his voice in the first like 4 hours of
Yeah.
the birthday series.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's not even, I don't like to say get along. I just think we understand each other, and then like we know it's all love, because I think I don't know, like I think that explains it well. But
I am a very intense person. I think that like something that Ryan does well that I think is a great for me, but also drives me nuts, which is like where my personality helps us, is just that like nothing stresses him out and he's always like calm and like happy go lucky. And like I need that energy around me because I'm like very uptight a lot. But he knows that like when it's business, like I will raise my voice and I will like put my foot down. I think the other thing that's great is that Ryan knows that I am a bit of a control freak where I just like when I have a vision for something, like I want it done a certain way and I have a certain standard in which I want it to be done. And so he does a very good job, whether it's just the two of us or in groups, to know like when to get the fuck out of my way.
But
Sure.
I love that so much because I can't be bothered. Like I don't take anything personally. I love when Ben will like be more direct or aggressive or assertive, and it's like I feel like some people just crumble. If you don't like, they're not ready for it. And Ben is intense in like the best way possible because I am like in the clouds and I need a kick in the ass, or he's like drop me back down to earth. I'm like, oh cool, that's what we're doing. Like, and we go do it, and we execute. And like, I think this episode for birthday series is like a perfect example of like, here are things we need to do. We're gonna go do them. Like, great.
I think it just took us some time to figure out how to like channel each other's energy to be conducive to one another versus like a friction point. Like for me, the best thing that Ryan can give me in like a business setting is that anytime I need like an individual or an intro or anything, like I can be like, Ryan, go get this, and like he'll figure it out. And look, it's more of a qualitative superpower in the sense that like he's not building me a deck or a model. Like I've learned what he's good at and what he's not and what he should be doing, and he shouldn't be building spreadsheets and like SOPs for shit. But like if I need a certain person or a certain thing, like he knows a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, and like he'll go get that thing. And like it's so amazing to be able to be in the driver's seat from an ops perspective and have someone who can just like go break down all the barriers that come up. I'm like, Ryan, I need you to go get me like 3 drivers for these RVs and like 2 groups of friends for trail cars, and like we need 2 more videographers, and like we need a producer, and he literally just brought all the people that I told him I needed together to be able to do this. And it's like it's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Cause like I do have a network and I am a bit of a connector the way that he is, but like he takes it to a whole nother level because like that's the part of his persona that he really leans into. And so for us to be able to strike that middle ground of like how we work best together, I think that like episode 1 of Birthday Series was like us working at it for 9 months to fully see it like operationalize in its best form.
Yeah, you got a dot connector on steroids over here.
Yes.
Just quick little anecdote. You're intense, but not in the sense that you're intense because you care.
Yes.
And you're very passionate about what's going on. So I feel like I just related in this sense where I feel like Ryan in the sense where I'm very laid back. Like I don't get stressed out in high stress situations versus my girlfriend, who's also Jewish as well. Type A figure is the one who's like, okay, I need this done. She's very particular in how she likes things done. So I can just like see the relationship here a little bit more clearly in my eyes of relationships I have in my own life. I don't know if the hard stop is 5:30, 3:50. Let's be mindful of that. I want to get into a little bit more about just birthday series in general. You said the tagline, do cool things with cool people and have people pay for it. I think that's just,
I don't know if we should. I don't know if we should.
it's your like.
I don't know if we should use that, but
whatever.
Fair, but I want to get into.
It's a point of inspiration.
But I know I can give you like the underlying ethos of birthday party.
Like what is birthday series? Yeah. What can people expect? Why should people care about what you're doing?
Yeah, so I think the concept derived from the notion of a birthday party. I believe that oftentimes people make wishes on their birthdays that are just like these moonshot things that never come to life, and they don't actually take the time to try to bring them to life. But there's also an element of maybe not having the resources for those things to come to life.
Yeah.
For me, I wanted us to serve as that forcing function to bring these things to life. So the caveat is that all the wishes are actionable. They can't be materialistic. And it's on us to figure out how to put that experience together for you. I think there's 2 things that are valuable, a couple pieces that are valuable about that. The first one, why are we working with creators directly? I think that class of people are the most creative people on the planet. And so hence the word creator. So like they bring ideas to the table that I would have never thought of. And so in one sense, myself and Ryan get to participate in experiences that either A, I didn't even know existed or thought about, and B, things that even if I did know they existed, I probably would have never done them anyways. Like Exhibit A, I would have never done a 131-mile relay run if it weren't for like this concept being the guiding force for that. And then I think the other piece of it is that I find so much joy in the fulfillment that the people get from us being able to give them an experience that they really want to do, and I get to participate with them. So like in a crazy way, I feel like I build a unique bond with these creators by participating in something that's very meaningful to them. So to me, it's like a win-win-win situation where it's like we get to do something cool. We fulfilled someone else's bucket list item because they wanted to do something cool. And then ideally, like we can inspire people who are watching this through through the YouTube channel or other forms of content to be inspired, A, to go do the things that they're passionate about, and like B, to like follow along on this journey, because I think we're kind of just at the beginning of it.
But this is why I love that Nike sponsored episode 1. Like, just do it. Whatever you got to do, whatever obstacles are in front of you, this just do it mentality. And I think our claim to fame is now that, you know, Nike gave us a sponsorship before we put out a single piece of content. Shout out to their team. They're amazing. And they were just like, we just want to support you.
So like we buy into your vision. So I think like if there's one message for
narrative,
people listening or watching or reading, it's that if you tell a story and you believe in it, believe in the story yourself, and it's powerful enough, someone will buy into it. Like I joke that we're like some of the biggest creators who've never put out a piece of content before. It's like a running joke until one day it won't be, because we'll actually put something out and then we'll be the smallest creator again, but that's fine. But it's just like the fact that we had brands at this magnitude buy into what we were doing. It was solely me telling a story. There was nothing else to it beyond that.
And I think that's incredible. Like, just shows what you can do as an entrepreneur yourself. I mean, companies have sold products before without having them physically made. So this is no different. Your product is content at the end of the day. So it's like something they had to wait for. It's something the storytelling is the key driver to really anything in life. I feel like a lot of it all. If you want to get something done, if you want to meet a friend, if you want to, you know, plan a vacation, you need the story behind it as to like why we want to do these things. I think that you too, with this especially itself, are great to people to look up to like learn this masterclass of storytelling.
Yeah,
So,
I think my why is fulfillment. Like I really do. And actually I will say, I had like a really cool experience with a guy who was just telling me his life story and left me with a book that he suggested I read, which is called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins.
Okay.
And the lesson from that book that I think is interesting, and I you have to take this with a grain of salt because it's definitely to the extreme, but I think the underlying message is important. And he talks about this like notion in our society where people like work their whole life to save up money to then have this money to go do these experiences. But inversely, like the best time to do these experiences are when you are young and physically able and like you don't have a family and a mortgage and all these things. Because when you look back at it when you're 80 or 90 years old, like the diminishing return on like additional dollars in your bank account and the utility of that money is so low. Because like the thing you care about at that point is that I get to do cool, like it's memories.
Yeah.
Like did I get to do the things I wanted to do with the people that I care about? And so like he talks about trying to flip that on its head and like go do those things now. Even if you don't have the money, like just figure it out along the way. Like don't save everything for this one light bulb moment. And like that conversation and that book resonated with me so much. So for me now, it's like challenging myself to figure out like how can I go do those experiences that I always thought I would do when I'm like older and rich and established, but like actually do it along the way as part of the journey. And so for me right now, I just chase fulfillment. Like I want to do the things that make me happy when they make me happy with the people who make me happy. And like the moment that isn't the case, like I need to course correct and figure out what that new thing is, like to find fulfillment in life.
But I think that's where we are so aligned in terms of like the why being fulfillment. Like I get so much fulfillment and where I feel like my life's purpose is to help others, and I get to bring that into everything that I do. And I think we're gonna get to break that into a million pieces and follow tons of storylines and different reasons, whether it's like burnout or making content or whatever, or inspiring other people to do these types of things. But there's also a lot of education that is like behind the scenes that our learning curve is massive, you know, and I think sharing that. But beyond that, there's also our personal fulfillment of like Ben and I in our day-to-day lives, like hosting. We like entertaining. We like bringing people together, and Birthday Series is just a huge opportunity to connect and reach and bring together so many people. Even with this episode, I feel like it was going to be a few friends running, and then you have 20 runners, and a production team of 17, and so I think that's also part of the fulfillment, is that like in our daily lives, like we're like hosting coffee meetups, or we're hosting dinners, or we're hosting parties like here, or we're hosting podcasts in our living room, you know. It's a huge piece of it.
No, very well said. And I think, with the fulfillment aspect of things, you can't run 131 miles when you're 80 years old. It's probably going to be a little tougher than to do it then.
Although
Montauk
Montauk Joe seems like he...
There are outliers in this world, so I would not put it past Montauk Joe that he could do it himself. as I hear, and the way I always describe birthday series to other people, like when I was going on this run, they're like, "Who the fuck are these guys? Like, who do they like? Who they are? What are they doing?" Like, I would describe it to them a little bit, like, take Yes Theory, take Make a Wish, put them together, and then focus on creators and make their dreams come true.
It's Yes Theory, Make a Wish, and Charlie Rocket with the Dream Machine.
And the Dream Machine. Charlie Rocket's actually.
And it's The Buried Life, which is tangential to Yes Theory. So Ben Nemtin is actually someone I got connected to who helped start Yes Theory, who's the founder of Buried Life. He's basically he's the number 2 I don't know. He's the number 2 ranked motivational speaker in the world. And he got his start as the Buried Life, which was basically checking off their bucket list of shit, and made it his life's purpose to like do the things that fulfilled him. It's actually a phone call that I had that I'll never forget. He's someone that I spoke to before we even started this. I just basically told him like what we're doing, and in a crazy way, he liked it because it's like a progressive new interpretation of like the ground that he's set, and like I respect him for it completely. I think there's just different forms of media now versus when they didn't. It's just like a different spin on the same fundamental thing he did, was like chase the things that make you happy. But it's very much if like the Buried Life, Yes Theory, Make a Wish, and Charlie Rocket had a baby, like I think it's birthday series.
I have to check out the Buried Life. Charlie Rocket's actually coming to our office tomorrow, which will be kind of cool. So
Nice.
just a small world there. I'm curious to know if someone were to come to you. Let's say I'm birthday series, and I approach you two. What is your wish? Do you have any idea what that wish would be? And you cannot say bringing people together for making a YouTube or for making my own media company.
Yeah.
If you have your own wish, do you know what that would be?
So I'm going to tell you, I don't know. It's a complicated answer, but you'll understand why. So I have a wish, but the wish I'm going to tell you is because when I was sitting on the toilet and I came up with the birthday series, this was the concept that popped in my head when I thought of it. And I still till this day can't really explain why, because I don't know. I wasn't like a fanboy of the person I'm about to list and the thing, but for whatever reason, this was the thing that popped up. When I thought of birthday series, I was like, imagine how cool it would be if I could go skydiving with Steve Aoki. No idea why, no idea how or what. I think maybe subconsciously this concept of the birthday cake thing with him is maybe poking in the back of my mind. But because that was the first idea that I ever had when I called him to tell him about the birthday series concept, I think that I will manifest one day skydive. I don't know if this guy's scared of heights or not, but he's fucking jumping out of a plane with me.
This is why I love it, because one of my friends, Kid Super, went cliff jumping with him, and they made like a swimsuit and a towel together.
Interesting.
And someone who Phil knows, who worked for us as an intern, is like his nephew.
Kid Super's Dylan's?
No. Steve Aoki.
Steve Aoki.
No, I
so
know
we have
people
our
who
ways.
know him, and I've had people who've offered to make intros, but I was like, not now.
Not yet.
Like, not the time.
Not yet.
But I can tell you that like there will be a moment in time where this clip is tied to me and Steve Aoki jumping out of a plane for whatever crazy reason. So I think that like I'm gonna use that as my answer, because that was the first thing I thought of when I came up with the concept.
Should we put it in the article as a receipt or hold it for yourself?
I don't know.
Up to you. Up to you.
I gotta think on that one.
You gotta think
I
about
don't
it.
have an answer yet.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
I feel like one of the most nostalgic things in my life is soccer. And I grew up playing soccer. It's really the only sport I watch. My dad is from Norway, and it's nostalgic because we bonded growing up watching soccer. We went to some soccer games in London. I used to live in London.
Did you grow up in London or no?
For a year, but my dad lived there for 20 years, so I got to spend time there. My team that I support is Manchester United, and I have always had this wish or this dream of like kicking a soccer ball with David Beckham. Dude's a legend, from going from playing soccer to being like this icon beyond the game, building brands, businesses. Like it's always been something on my bucket list for sure. But what I think is funny is that like we absolutely love listening to creators come up with stuff on their list, because it's not just your typical thing you might think of, like a bungee jumping or whatever it might be. We have creators who are like, I want to recreate this TV episode and act it out with my friends and these people, and like, or people who have developed their own series of content want to make it even bigger.
Yeah.
And we've been able to facilitate the recreation of a TV episode in real life.
I'm
in New York City.
basically like I think
Off the record,
to-
can you say what the episode was? Or what
yeah,
Yeah,
we, I
yeah,
mean, we
we-
can show you the video.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's part of this that's super cool is that I'm essentially chasing a bucket list of things that I don't even know about yet.
Right.
Because I think there's something really fascinating about doing a thing that someone else always wanted to do. Because there are things that either A, I wouldn't have thought of, B, I would be scared shitless to do, and C, would never prioritize.
Yeah.
But to point B, which is would never do, Ryan and I made a promise to each other that when we started this, we would not back out of any of the things that people want to do. So for your context, we're going shark diving in 3 weeks, and we're also going wing walking.
We just
What
learned
is,
what
is that where you go
wing
on
walking
up? I know
They
exactly
strap
where
you to
that
the wing
is,
of a plane.
and then you like walk on.
No,
the,
you fly.
But like while it's in the air, you're flying across. You're walking across.
No,
right?
you're strapped in on the wing of the plane while they're flying.
and they invert
Epic.
the plane.
And you can't wear
There's no parachute.
you
Who's
can't
the
wear-
backup for these guys if they don't come back? Like, what's gonna go on? You know, anyone? Just
feel like
Phil-
Tom
Phil-
Cruise doing my own stunts.
Phil's
Yeah.
gonna be
Right?
the face of birthday series.
amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Anything about birthday series that was not touched on that you're just like, this is a must be like talked about? I want to make sure you're getting the full coverage that you have. And if it's not even talked about, we miss it later.
I mean, I think one of the cool things we've set up for ourselves is like a big opportunity for a lot of organic distribution. And I think that one of the things that's been great for us is that like this is our network of friends, right? There's no talent management, there's no egos. All these creators are friends or friends of friends who are excited about this. And I think for us to build a series where like we have that distribution baked in, like is a little bit of a hack, but it's also like the last 10 years of us building relationships, you know, personally and professionally. And I think one of the questions that's coming up every day now is, how'd you do that? How'd you get that billboard in Times Square? Isn't that a $50,000 billboard? How'd you do that? No, we got a guy. Oh, you don't have a billboard guy? You should get a billboard guy. You know what I mean? And
I got a billboard guy,
Listen, you got a
Great.
billboard guy.
Nathan.
You're
that's
one
all
of
I
the
know.
few people who has a billboard guy in New York, and I think for us, it's like, no, we got that for the price of for free. But that
Well, not for free.
that price is like, hey, we've been helping other people for the last decade, and like Ben and I are very similar in the fact that we don't ask for a lot in return. That Gary V sort of model of like eat shit, you know, for as long as possible. And I feel like both of us would agree that this is one of the first times where in our lives like we have an ask. And I think that's difficult, whether you're asking for help or asking, you know, for a favor. But it's been amazing to us to see the overwhelming support of people who want to participate, who are volunteering their time, like incredible people, you know, who have big careers or big audiences. And that's been a really humbling experience. I think we also thought like, oh, billboard in Times Square, like, sure. But over the red steps, wrapped around the whole building, grounding.
Crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
Imagine if you had more than 50 subscribers to know about a billboard.
But
in
I
Times
remember
Square.
I was so excited. I FaceTimed you on the red steps. I was like, dude, can you get here? Like,
I was already laying down in my bed, just like, hey, just got
exhausted,
home.
haven't
Yeah.
I
slept.
would love to.
Yeah.
No, I think the last thing I'll say is like
Please.
any support of people who just want to follow along. I think like it's equally as fulfilling for us to bring to life these experiences for the creators who are in the episodes, but also like to inspire other people who are watching this. I think like there's a lot of really cool things that we've already done and hopefully we'll continue to do to inspire other people to just like seek fulfillment and go do the things that make you happy.
But we've also had some pretty incredible fan participation.
I wanted to actually ask about that real quick because everything right now has been in the dark. You've been able to, and I know Matt Choi was able to bring his 2 fans to come participate. In the future, when this is just like a consistent, ongoing thing, will there be an opportunity for the audience to participate?
Yes.
So, yeah. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
And we've been like testing it out, and so Matt's, you know, episode is a good example where he was able to take video submissions. And we went through video submissions and picked out 2 people to invite them to join us in his episode. One guy drove 3 hours at 3 a.m. to join us. in Texas.
And he was like, it was the most epic experience of my
Yeah,
life.
I mean, I would do that too. So
yeah, sign me up.
yeah,
You guys are very similar, actually. Him and Lou.
Dude, this guy opens his video submission with "What it do," and the whole
and
time
that was it.
the whole time we were like, "It's what it do, Lou."
What
you
it
know?
do, Lou.
Like, this guy's coming.
Just
Yeah.
branded himself on
Dude,
accident.
the energy was so good, and I think at the end of the day, that's what Ben and I are looking for: energy. We want to, we want to do great things with great people, and at the end of the day, even like you saw in the RVs and this 24-hour thing we just did, it's like energy is so important. How you treat other people is so important. So it was also an amazing experience to just see like the vibes. The vibes were great. There were little hiccups along the way, but like overall, people had fun. It was
Yeah,
good.
I would say overall, after meeting you and knowing you for less than, I would say 2 weeks now, even a little,
Yeah.
probably less than that, because I've only like conversated over text a little bit, over call. You two seem to be mostly giving people ever. It's a lot of jabs, not a lot of right hooks. It's always giving without asking for anything in return, and I think that's the reason why when you put yourself in this position to continue to give back, people are now even more curious and like want to be involved.
Yeah.
And just like
Yeah.
they're gravitating towards your two energy, which you're then constantly putting back out into the universe. So I don't think you two, if you don't get enough credit, you definitely deserve a lot more credit than you guys get.
Appreciate that.
Being behind the scenes, obviously, probably one of the more difficult things to do with a lot of this stuff. But then on top of that, now being in front of the camera, so you got to worry about both aspects of the business, and it's just it's very fascinating to see. And
Well, I think you got
I'm
to see
very
both
thankful
worlds.
to see it from afar. It's really it's awesome, guys.
Appreciate that.
We
Yeah.
appreciate that. But the fun thing, I think, with you is that you got to be on both sides.
Yeah.
Like, and shout out to your guy Devin, your videographer, who just like jumped in and was with us, no sleep, like got on the road, ran a mile or two with you filming.
He ran
like,
a 2.5 with me, and then then he quickly backed off. He goes, "I'm being selfish. I'm taking." He was using the pacer car. They were following him like a mile and a half. We're like, "Where's the guy at?" And the guy's following Devin because Devin needed some help.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming over and doing this.
anytime.
We got to let Pierre go because I know we're over time with him.
All good. All good.
But we can send this to you and then.
Please, yeah, I'm gonna use it for the interview, use it
Sick.
for the article, maybe make a clip out of it too as well.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Run with it.
Love that.
This has been-
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Probably should it be a.
Do we
Where
have
do-
a,
yeah, where do
do we have, do we have a sign off?
where
Like
should
stay
people follow?
classy,
Well,
San
should we
Diego?
like give a sign off of birthday series where they can
Or
find
should
us
people
and he can also
follow-
do the same?
Yeah.
Yep.
You can find Birthday Series on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Birthday Series, and then also bdayseries.com. But it would mean the most to us if you subscribe to the YouTube channel because that's where all the long form fun videos are going to be coming out.
I need to say nothing, so that's good. That's perfect.
that.
Bang.
That's the
Clap.
tea.
Sync. Nice nails.